Would you like to have ballpark ideas of about how much money you should have saved by the time you're 35, 50, and 60 years old? If so, you're in luck, because Rowe Price just released a study sharing their targets that they think people should have saved in order to be ready for retirement by age. And then towards the end of the video, I'm going to share it's a two-part study. The second part talks about not just by age how much you should have saved, but it also then factors in how much money you should have saved based by age and then broken down by salary level. In their theory, and I think it's true, if you're making more money, you should be saving more money. Remember, it's not just how much you make, it's how much you spend as well, and we should all be striving to certainly spend less than what we're making, right? So let's jump in. This was a study that Rowe Price released in February of 2023, so it's fairly current. I'll leave a link to the full study. Today I'm going to summarize their study that had two assumptions in it. There's other parts of it that you can find in the description if you don't want these assumptions, but they're assuming that you're married and that both spouses are working. So this is the household income. So first I'm going to just give their general numbers where they share, you know, by age, this is about how much money you should have saved as a multiple of your median household income. So I'll give you an example. They say by 30 years old, you should have saved half of what your median household income is. So if you and your spouse together are making $150,000, then according to this study, you should have saved $75,000. Hopefully that makes sense. So again, first I'm going to break out the numbers based on simply age, and then I'm going to break it down even further based on age and how much money you're making. But so for high level, 30 years old, they say you should have saved half of your median household income. By 35, that range increases from up to 1 to 1.5 times your median household income. By 40, you should have saved 1.5 to 2.5 times that. By 45, it's 2 to 4 times. So, you know, just for easy math, let's say the median household income is $100,000. You know, by 45, they're saying you should have saved $200,000 to $400,000. So hopefully this is all making sense. By 50, they say 3 to 6 times your median household income. By 55, 4.5 to 8 times again household income. If it was 100,000, by 55, they're saying 450,000 to 800,000. And then by 60, it should be 5.5 times to 11 times. That's a big range, which is really what part 2 of this study is breaking out. You'll see why that range is high, because what they're doing is, this is just by age, but then they break it out by income. So people that are making more income, they say should be saving more money. For 60-year-olds, that's 5.5 to 11 times. And then finally, you know, the age where most Americans retire, 65, they say you should have 7 to 13.5 times your median household income. So those are the numbers just by age, but now let's look at it in by income category, because they break it down. I think you're going to find it helpful. I know this is a lot of numbers, you know, and basically we do the best that we can. And I am going to link to the study where you can see the actual results. I do encourage you to take a few minutes to read it, maybe even print it out. You know, I find it helpful to have a goal. When I was 22 years old, I hired a fee-only financial advisor to help me think through my finances. And one of the most useful things he gave me was kind of a roadmap and said, you know, by the time you're 25, this is how much you should have saved. By the time you're 30, by the time you're 35. And I found that to be super helpful. I think you'll find it to be super helpful as well, just having these high level, what should the goals be for you? So now we're going to break it down. Again, we're going to do it by age and then by salary. So if you're 55 years old and you're making, let's just do this by 75K, okay? So I'm going to go across. I'm going to say $75,000. If you're 55, you should have 5 times your money saved. If you're 60, you should have 6.5 times that household income saved. And by 65, 8 times. Okay, the next, and I've got 6 categories I'm going to go through here. So if you're making 100K, if your median household income is 100K, and what they're saying here is at 100K, you should have 5.5 times your income saved. At again 100K, at 60 years old, you should have 7.5 times, and at 65, you should have almost 10 times your median household income saved. So 100K at 65, they say 9.5 times. So that would be like 950,000, right, based on these numbers. Okay, at $150,000, they say you should have 6.5 times saved by 55. By the time you're 60, they're saying you should have 8.5 times saved. And by the time you're 65, they say you should have 10.5 times saved. Again, hopefully this makes sense. Leave me any questions in the comments. I'm going to keep going. You might be curious to see people making 200, 250, or 300,000, what this Rowe Price study says that you should have saved. But do leave me comments. I do read the comments. I love reading the comments. And please give me a thumbs up. It really helps the YouTube algorithm find other viewers like yourself that this video can help. So let's talk about 200,000. If you're making 200,000, Rowe Price says you should have, by the time you're, 55? Yeah, 55, 60, and 65. 6.5x, 8.5x, and 10.5x by the time you're 65. So just for comparison here, if you were making 100,000, they said by 65 you should have 9.5 times your salary saved, and now they're saying at 200,000 you should have 10.5x. I think these numbers are low, actually. As income is doubling, you know, they're basically just saying an extra 0.5 times your income saved. I think for a lot of us, we want to save a little bit more than that. So continuing, at $250,000, at 55, they say you should have 7 times your income saved. By 60, you should have 9 times, and by 65, you should have 11 times. So this is probably the easiest column. 250,000, it's 7 times at 55, 9 times by 60, and 11 times by the time most Americans retire at 65 years old. And then finally, for the $300,000 category. Now, I would hope there'd be a nice jump in this, but truthfully, there's not on the numbers. It pretty much stays the same. By 55, it's 7 times your monthly income, 9.5 times by 60, and 11.5 times by 65. I think earlier I said monthly income. I should have said median household income. So again, 300,000 is 7 times, 9.5 times, and 11.5 times. So a lot of information here, but again, this study is available. I'll leave the link in the description. Hopefully you found this useful. Thanks for watching. Again, as the young people say, thumbs for likes and subs for love, and leave me a comment. I do read the comments. And until next time, I'm Azul, encouraging you to take full advantage of the youth of your senior years. Remember, you're only young once. Let's use our time wisely.